Let's go. Good morning. What's going on here? Okay. Mr. Mahoney was passed around a signing sheet.
Sure. I get a freaking robocall. You're gonna get two of them. One for me.
Car warranty.
What email do I want to give my? I got 5 email addresses. Where do I want?
I could
to
have
send
really,
it?
I have one that I haven't checked in 16 years, I think.
Just forward it to you.
I don't, what?
Yeah, how to forward your email?
Yeah, but I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
Coffee and steak sandwiches or? Spencer?
Oh.
Did you guys used to get a packet from the town? It's like a thick packet where you had to declare conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's what this time.
I used to get it every year and we haven't got it in a few years.
Yeah, we used
So
to
they
get
must have
that.
changed
You had it, your financial stuff.
I have mentioned it.
Yeah, you had to declare your salary and
Yeah.
everything. I remember
Yeah,
thinking, who am I sending this to?
Yeah, right?
Thank you for the donuts.
Oh, you're welcome. They're muffins, so.
The notary you'll take care of, or is?
Yeah, Mary can take care of
Mary's
that.
But she won't notarize anything. She thinks it's a conflict of interest.
Oh, who knows?
You paid one.
I know how to get to you.
Thank
You
you.
as well.
Here.
Here, do you need this?
Here, I'll give you,
Thank you.
I'll keep that going. I'll wait till
There you go.
Mr. Hutchison signs this.
He's the man. That's the man.
Yeah. I'm-
Blazel's guy.
Here, Dan.
I sit next to him almost every meeting. It's always a trip.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
It is a.
I'm doing well. There's once you get settled, like muffins and coffee.
We do have.
If you're interested.
Don't worry, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
The
The lice of
Or after.
I saw the other day, but we never really get a chance to.
Yeah.
Get hot.
I don't know if I got my second. I'm gonna have to do it online again.
Okay. Get a pen.
Oh, is this to take with the online course or something like that? Okay.
So.
I'm at level 3 at Mahomes.
Level 3 sexual learners.
I'm a
Level 3 morning.
I'm a level 3 guy.
I
Made it to level 3.
Red light, red light. Do they still do red light? I don't know.
That's
yellow light behavior. That's.
Believe it or not, I have 20 minutes of computer work I gotta do every time I log in.
You need to. I'll keep that.
Well, how often is that daily?
Daily, if you go in daily, you just have 20 minutes of computer. work,
Wow.
All these programs and stuff.
For just like a lot of safety training or everything?
Oh, everything. Harassment, safety, how to treat customers, when to run for.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Need one more.
You did your second.
Hey, Bob.
harassment training.
Yes, I did.
Hey, Eager Beaver.
Hey, Chairman.
You know, it's easier this year.
You got reelected. Hey, I heard you got reelected. Did I get reelected?
It's today.
I didn't think I was running,
But I heard you had no opposition. You in camp. I even offered people.
We took care of the opposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. No opposition. We elected our officers today too.
There's a lot of maneuvering there.
Mary didn't want to run for anything, you notice that? Oh, Lord.
Six, 7, 2, 2, 6, 0.
Oh, yeah, this time was different because you had to,
I did it. I left it at home. My wife just sent me a picture, so.
you did a,
I watched
Take
it,
a little
I watched
photo.
it at 2 times speed.
2 times.
yeah.
I might have skipped a part.
What's up?
Well, I don't think there was any, you weren't actually tested, so I made.
Yeah.
There was no.
It's a weird way to do it, right? Just prove that.
Oh, man.
I need is one correct form and.
I'm, YouTube's giving me grief.
It wasn't bad. I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours and it was
Get all
ridiculous.
something to go by.
And I was actually just on it this week.
You just back today?
You extend
We
help.
have to do a public hearing on the feed more.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk to that. That'll be March 6th.
Right, but
So-
we have a feed more resolution in here.
Yeah,
You
it's
didn't
just,
read it?
it's the way that, it's just, this is papered more with it's an intent resolution.
Oh, all right.
So it's basically just acknowledging that this conversation has
I
started.
deciphered it.
But you'll see, I'll go through the resolution. There's like a federal requirement that resolution needs to.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Sean got a call from me.
How are you?
Hey, Davis.
Hey, how's Florida?
Good, warmer than here.
Yeah.
Why?
Too hot.
So's Kansas City. It's gonna be in the sixties in Kansas
He's
City.
talking again. Sorry, Dave.
When-
What was that?
We're waiting on, is for Wentz, Mary? Oh, and Janet. Davis, there's some breakfast there. You will help yourself to or after the meeting. I'm just gonna give it 7:31. Grab your coffee
Yes.
and then we'll get rolling. Little bit of an agenda. We have a governance committee meeting after. I thought Jamel was gonna join.
You mind taking this now?
Perfect, it's very comfortable. Thank
So
you.
the conflict of interest, we gotta sign up anyway. I mean, there could be something in the future you're not aware of, but I mean, we
Yeah.
have to refile it then.
Yeah. Like I gotta connect with Jamel.
Right. I saw that.
Sure.
Waiting on the coffee.
Very interested.
It is, but it was a lot of good.
Well, yeah, it's $40 million. I could take just a couple $100,000.
All right, I'll get started with roll call. Cam Hall.
Here.
Bob Hutchison.
Here.
Janet, we'll kind of wait on, she's not here. Andy Palmer.
Here.
Davis Pekulski.
Here.
Bob Reynolds.
Here.
And Wentz. And we have excused Thomas Moses and Jamel Perkins. And Jennifer Strong, Mary Doran, Daniel Kozub, and Bob Mahoney as guests. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to open the February 14th, 2024 Hamburg, New York Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors meeting at 7:33 a.m.
So moved.
Thank you, Bob. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Andy. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay. First item on the agenda are the meeting minutes from January 10th, 2024. And I have a motion to approve.
Oh, so moved.
Thank you, Bob.
Second.
Thank you, Cam.
Even better.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the financial report from January 31st, 2024. Mr. Reynolds, please.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, we had $3,794.78 in income this month, mostly due to our investments. I just want to point out that we did our Pitch Hamburg grant, the first half of that $50,000 grant. $25,000 we sent to Pinch Hamburg. And then we did our office expenses, or our membership dues was $4,545. We did that to Invest Buffalo in Niagara. And we did another sponsorship of $1,000. So with the total of everything came out, we're negative $47,224.92 for expenses. So we had a final total of expenses over income of $47,224.92. Just want to point out about 30,000 of that was due to grants and stuff. So we only 17,000 over from our budget, making our monthly budget on that one. But those were already done in advance, our grants and stuff. So the final liability for the organization is $887,106.70 is our liability, income, and all our assets as of January 31st. Any question?
Motion to approve.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Davis. All in favor, or I'm sorry, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Next item, I have our director report in the packet here. Hi, Janet.
She's arrived. Janet's here.
For our guests, are there extra packets in the back, Mary, by chance? Feel free to grab a packet. For each meeting, I submit a director report, which kind of highlights current events. These packets are sent out to our board members, to the town board, some press entities as well, really anybody who should request it. It's also available on our website. The director report essentially highlights some of the payment in lieu of tax revenue, the pilot revenue, into the taxing jurisdictions of the town, the school districts, and the county. It highlights the financial performance of the agency. One item for the board, you had asked for some roll-up information to be displayed on this report. So I added up on the financial performance kind of section, capital investment since 2018. So that number is represented as 144 million, roughly $144,500,000 since 18. So that's capital investment through IDA projects. And then pilot revenue. So this is the revenue from those investments since 2018 is roughly $13 million. So that's roll-up data of agency performance since 2018. Below there, we had the agency employment impact, sponsorship, and grants, which Mr. Reynolds had talked to. Another item, just to back up to the financial performance, is a tally of receivables due. The agency does not receive any revenue for projects until they close. So until the financing closes, typically until construction is either well underway or is completed and the investment has received a certificate of occupancy. So we often have a lag in terms of receivables, sometimes for years. We have a fee schedule established to somewhat drive investment into the area. So if a project is approved, you'll also see in our agenda that there are fees essentially assessed for project extensions, because if we approve a capital investment, a taxable investment, that project should not be delayed. Obviously, there's pandemics and economic conditions that can force some things, but there has to be accountability to the investors on behalf of the taxpayers. So that's our receivables due. Continuing on into project activity.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Andy.
So number one, the capital investment, I really appreciate that. That's $24 million a year since 2018. And capital
Mhm.
improvements in town of Hamburg. So I think that's awesome. Thanks for putting that on there. Only job, only question I have is agency employment impact. So it says current employment 2022. Is that just overall like companies that we've touched kind of employment or saved jobs, or is it created?
A number of the companies that we have supported have like retention and expansions as well. So you'll see in applications like, for instance, the one coming up is adding 5 new jobs if approved and the project moves forward, but they're also retaining 30 jobs. So that's how that number is greater than the new jobs committed. So often there's a retainage component
Right.
to it as well.
Okay, thank you.
So project activity we have booked in here, projects that have been approved but have not closed yet. And when their expirations are, it's just a tracking mechanism for the board and the staff. Then we talk to project activity. So this is essentially what has happened since the last IDA board meeting. So we've driven some project activity with Staub Precision Machine. We've been working with them. We've toured the facility as a board, and we're trying to work out arrangements where we can boost this project and make it happen, thus adding these new jobs and further solidifying the manufacturer in the village of Hamburg. 3556 Lakeshore Road is a really big asset in Hamburg. It's the Gateway Building, the former Bethlehem Steel site. That building, as best as we understand, is now under contract. We've talked to a number of investors on that building and the potential redevelopment there. There was one opportunity that fell through. I was talking offline with one of our members this morning. Certainly the office market there was a market report that came out yesterday. The local office market is running roughly a 16% vacancy rate. That does not include sublease activity. So the banks are not confident. The short of the story is the banks are not confident in the office market. So securing financing for 160,000 square foot building, that's, I think about 40% occupied is a difficult stretch. So the investor coming in either has to have a lot of equity or some other arrangements to their capital stack in lieu of banks. So we're tracking that project and trying to, work through a redevelopment there as that project that building is available on the market.
Yeah, did you say it's under contract?
Best I understand, yes.
Are we,
Yeah.
do we know, and are you having conversations yet?
I've been talking to the same interested parties, so I don't, again, some of those developments are confidential.
Yep.
So, I'm thinking it is, but, still trying to work through some plans, and certainly any redevelopment there has to go through an entitlement process. If there's something, a proposed other use than office, so before they would come to the IDA, there may be some additional steps, but, we're working in just really tracking that asset because, right now I think the assessed value is around $4 million. So that's an important parcel in the town of Hamburg. And then, a smaller expansion project in the village of Hamburg as well, is emerging, and, we're looking forward to working with that developer to submit an application. On the Hamburg Development Corporation, which is a separate corporation from the Industrial Development Agency, separate board, that organization operates a revolving loan fund through the Community Development Office in the town of Hamburg. We've had one loan closing for a small business development loan that's Hatrix, which we have supported through some county or through some state grant activities in their expansion and their relocation as they lost their lease. So that project is closed and is moving forward. Community engagement with the Hamburg Development Corporation. Thanks for the members who were able to attend. We had our annual meeting, of which there was a consultant. The town's Brownfield Opportunity Area consultant came in and spoke and offered some of their vision on the redevelopment process of some of the brownfield areas in Blaisdell and around the Lakeshore Road area, kind of from the town line, the northern town line, up to around the Ford plant. So that was rather
It- it-
interesting.
I was at the meeting. So their next really big part of that project is to get the approval of moving forward even further. right? That's what they're working on right now.
They will, best I understand, they will work through the town. And and kind of solicit input with the community
Okay.
and then establish a plan on, probably number one, the boundary, refine where that boundary will be. And then also key parcels within that. Republic Steel, I think would be a key site. We own some land now that may be within that brownfield opportunity area, which would be a key site. And then essentially establish I guess like a schematic to that level, like an idea of what the redevelopment would look like. And then, in addition to that, probably some mixed use opportunity in Woodlawn, particularly around Lake Shore and Lake Avenue. I believe some potentially traffic enhancements as well. Then they will submit this plan to the Department of State. So they'll establish a plan, submit it to the Department of State for approval. It's not a recognized brownfield opportunity area until that
So they
Department of
approved it,
State.
right? Yeah, that's why they talked about taking it up to Hoax. And going from, including that part of their brownfield up to that part on the lakefront, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I
So
don't
they have to
believe that
put the
that's
plan- That's what I
solidified.
was trying to understand. They were trying to put the plan together with community input.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So everybody knows that goes from our town line all the way up to Hoax along the waterfront. I think that's where they cut it off
I
at.
think it was a little past that.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was up to
That's
Apple
farther,
Springs or
right.
something up in that
And
area.
I believe, I don't know if there's other input, but I believe that can be refined, until you submit that plan to the state.
Okay.
So there may be some tweaking of that, if the plan should move forward.
Well, if I
So-
remember right, it seemed like that plan, that boundary on the east side left out parts of Blaisdell that maybe should be included too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of stopped right at the tracks almost.
Right.
Coming where the tracks come down Route 5.
And parts of the old Republic and
Right.
Metallica go into Blaisdell. They're almost cut in half. If I
It's
remember
pretty
those.
interesting, Jan. I don't know if you've seen that report, Jan,
Yeah.
but you might want to take a look at that. To get Blaisdell involved in it and stuff like that.
What I can email the consultant, Janet, maybe copy you, so you have a contact, and then just have them send the PowerPoint presentation. And there'll certainly be more to come, but it was good to start to, I think the important, most productive part of that would be the community engagement. So I was appreciative that they came out and spoke to the group. We had about 30 attendees there at the annual meeting. So it wasn't huge, but it's a start. It's a step in the
Big
right
part of that
direction.
too was traffic money, changing transportation and stuff like that. They were looking at too on Route 5 and stuff like that. It's making it smaller, making it more community friendly. So they might work in the Blaisdell's favor too. I'm just saying, like, something taken along that line. Thanks, Sean. Well,
I did suggest that they bury it. Tunneling.
He did.
I thought that was, hey, if we're here to dream.
Get rid of the sky.
Yeah.
No. Continuing on, one thing that I'm very interested, we've sent out surveys. So our annual Paris reporting or job and employment reporting, surveys have gone out and should be back within about the next month. So just interested to see, some of the projects that we're monitoring, new projects like Amazon, just to see where their job targets and goals are coming in at. And then some of the meetings with some of the newly elected town officials. Thank you, Chair Hutchison, for participating in those. And we look forward to hosting some more. Save the date. We will be having public hearings likely March 6th at 8:30 a.m. This is the Land Development Corporation, so we'll speak to this Feedmore project. And then we're still working on the application for Staub Precision Machine. Likely that would come in, just as a heads up. That is in the village of Hamburg, so we'll have to move from Town Hall over into the village. So at 9:30, we'll commence that public hearing for the Staub Precision Machine expansion.
9:30?
Yes, so it'll be 8:30, March
Oh.
6th at 8:30 at Town Hall, and then at 9:30 at Village Hall. Certainly these will be available by Zoom as well, and we'll have the Zoom information, or at least contact, available in the public hearing notice, where you can email our office and we'll send you the Zoom link. Any other questions? All right, continuing on, we have annual meeting elections. Yes,
Working with the Hamburg Development Corporation, you guys work hand in hand?
no, it's hand in hand in terms of the revolving loan fund is like another tool in our like economic development kit. It's a separate board.
I understand that, but I was just wondering, you working together, you not in competition against grants or anything like that?
No, that often serves that entity often serves. We can do some things in that organization. Number one, we can do these loans to retail, which in industrial development, largely retail is not inducible. So we can do some of these business development loans with that in that arena. So we can boost some of the small businesses in the area. The loans are from 25,000 to 100,000. So some of our industrial and manufacturers, when we, towards some of these, a piece of equipment is $1 million. So the loan fund doesn't have that much emphasis in that. So small businesses, so it's essentially another toolkit with that revolving loan fund. The funds are, we're essentially a custodian of them. They're HUD funds. So they're HUD funds that we get access through the town of Hamburg. And then in terms of grants, that development corporation is often a custodian of the funds. So for instance, like a Main Street grant. So when Blaisdell and the Village of Hamburg had the Main Street grants, we're essentially like the pass through. Excuse me. So that's often the Department of State. So we will receive the funds through the state, verify that the committed improvements were made. Like typically those are like storefront revitalizations. And then we will remit payment through the board approval, to the developer or to the small business.
Then that Gateway building, I know it's up for sale and everything, so there's really no takers on that now. Well, I know that right now they got their eyes set on Michael's for their senior center, recreation center. But that building's plenty big enough also for the town maybe to, because I think they're looking at least a home, to maybe put their rec center there for the.
Yeah, there would certainly be opportunity. I had so some of my background is in commercial real estate. I have sent some information over to the Parks and Rec director of some potentially real estate consultants. In terms of the senior center development, I think I'm not involved with it, but the best thing to do is really to develop exactly what is needed and maybe potential future growth, and then survey the market. See, if they're interested in a new build opportunity or a reuse of an existing facility. They really have to understand what their square footage needs are, what their space needs are, and then just determine what the best match is. And then our
Supervisor's eyes are on buying Michael's at least to own, I believe.
okay.
Because we had a little meeting and basically I'm like, if you're talking about a 10-year lease or something, count me out, because I'm not gonna go through the same thing we just went through across the street.
Mhm.
Now my thought was, and I know it's a big shot in the sky, but to purchase the McKinley Mall for the $8 million. Now the town's in charge of developing and everything. They could put their senior youth rec, everything in the McKinley Mall. Just at the Sears end, maybe put in a well now, since the senior center's right there, a Quest Lab, and then parcel out the property around it. Because some people wanted to put a hotel there, but they didn't want to spend the $8 million just because they needed 4 or 5 acres over here. And, I figured the town could end up purchasing, selling that off and get their $8 million back. And if they don't want to be in the the rental business, they could make a deal with somebody to buy the remaining of the mall with basically a lease for, 100-year lease for the town for the recreation and youth center. But
Yeah, there's certainly, you're certainly right in terms of available parcels. Like, and those are available. Actually, Michael's is not on my list, but I do carry, because it's more, I mean, we are focused with industrial development. So we have a list of prime sites. We have our Crossroads site, the Lake Erie Commerce Center. There's a site on, existing site on Jeffrey Boulevard, a vacant land site on Jeffrey. So we tend to track those. So certainly if you want any, information on what's available, reach out. We carry it on our website as a conduit for developers to know what's going on. So, it's just, well, the better I could help any investor in the town of Hamburg is when I understand what their needs are. Like what your square footage needs, what your parking needs, and then we'll try to work with, the short list of available matches.
Then the brownfields, usually so far away from railroad tracks, so I'm sure that could be stretched out on the east side of the railroad tracks. Certain.
That's what we were
Right.
talking about,
Yeah.
but you gotta get community involvement into that program, what they're looking to do and stuff. Just one point of information for you guys too. Sean is the executive director of both organizations, the Hamburg Development and us. So just so you know that he's the director over there too. That's our shared interest a little bit.
Yes.
Sure. You mentioned earlier, when feedback on what Mr. Reynolds said, when you're doing these developments, the board, it comes to you as a board. Now, and how does, they give you a site plan? How long do they have to keep that site plan for what you just termed a few minutes ago as tweaking? Do they give you a site plan, a final site plan? Can they still tweak from that?
They have to, in terms of the planning and pre-development, they have to receive site plan approval. So we cannot commence any inducement activity until that site plan approval has been completed through the planning department. We will have conversations with them potentially, as they're working through their financial models simultaneously, but we will not submit, an application to the board. So following that inducement, if there would be changes to the site, that would go back to planning. That would have to go back to the town planning.
I understand they have a deadline, they have to give a site plan, but you mentioned the word tweaking. Does that tweaking stop?
Yeah.
What did you say tweaking?
No, I don't remember the context of it, but where we experience our stress in terms of projects right now are delays. So we have a governance committee meeting after, for example, we have a resolution on the agenda for a project extension. So if this board goes out, I submit an application to this board. That's my job, to go out and drive investment into the town, submit qualified projects to this board to review and essentially beat up and determine whether it's a worthwhile investment for the taxpayers to make this commitment. So when they make that commitment, then we look to the developer to spend that money. We will support your project, sometimes to X million dollars, but we want that taxable investment into the town because we want the jobs and we want the revenue starting to grow. So we give them, we've been talking about this timeline, probably up to 2 years to get that project completed.
I understand that.
Okay.
Amazon, because I was following the Amazon in a long time, but do you still, in your contracts or your agreements, do you still have the clawback clause? If they don't meet that number, whatever, 100 employees, do you still have a clawback clause in your agreements?
Yes, we do. So as part of state law, we maintain recapture. Actually, unfortunately, there's a project on the agenda today that we have to speak to in terms of recapture. And that's part of the annual reporting. So we'll maintain that data and then submit it to the board. So when projects are deficient, we have to have lots of conversations with the developer, with the operator, with the board. Certainly we want business to retain and expand. But this board has to serve as they do, as a representative of these taxing jurisdictions.
sometimes put a time limit on it?
The,
Or a cap?
the recapture policy, it's, it can be subject to, extenuating circumstances. So, it can be, yeah, that can be tweaked. It's vague in a sense that there's not a hard and fast policy. Because, for example, and again, to speak to the pandemic, but, there were, probably 20 to 25% of projects that were, experiencing employment deficiencies through that COVID pandemic. Now, if we recaptured or terminated pilots at that time, we would just be causing additional stress. So we wanted to give those companies a period of time to recover. And that's kind of where we're done. We've been favorable with extensions and waiving fees. We've been favorable, again, like, to the extent practicable. Well, we're far removed from the pandemic now.
Yeah, and you know that those are the questions that communities are asking, because they're saying, when are they gonna turn this key, when are they gonna start and open the doors? And that's what, exactly. But I was just wondering if there's a term or a limit, or when, you have to give us an answer by so long, and if you don't.
I would think most developments, do have that, like, let's say Buffalo Billion and Tesla.
Right.
I think it took 3 years for them to meet the
Right.
original 1-year commitment,
Yeah.
right? So it just varies on what's
Yeah,
happening with
like
the
2 years,
project
yeah.
specifically. And what the economic situation is, right? You certainly don't want, I personally, as a board member, I don't want to have a developer that, I'm a business owner. And let's say during COVID, they didn't meet their hiring quota. Well, that would make logical sense. There was a reason for that. Right?
Oh, right,
It's
exactly.
COVID,
No,
so
no, I'm not-
that's where the tweaking comes into play, as far as I'm concerned on this board.
That was the answer.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for, because I didn't understand when you said tweaking, how long did they get to tweak it? Like, the development years ago on South Shore, the old South Shore golf course. I happened to be on the planning board at that time, that was 7, 8 years ago. That thing's sitting there, what's going on with it? I mean, it's me, asking that question, but nobody knows. I've gone to all the places I can go, except, I haven't asked, certain people, publicly. I'm just wondering, that property's sitting there. We went through a whole bunch of planning, I think it was $800,000 to $900,000 of study monies to go through that. I think David Homestead or whatever,
Mhm.
but it's sitting there. That's what, that's. the question.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly, a question that
Grants
that-
and monies.
no, they have never approached the
Not
IDA.
getting, they're asking for monies, at least from the state and the government, whatever they could get, and then finally, there was something with taxes or whatever it was, but that's property sitting there, so people are saying, well, I'm saying, what's going on with that?
Yeah, as Amazon, for an example, they get 2 years following completion of the project, so 2 years following their certificate of occupancy. So that's the trigger to hit their job quota. So that and that will be like Amazon is in their 2nd year. So speaking to, being the curiosity in their job numbers, they're hitting their job. This is the year, this March is where so that would potentially, if they're falling short of it, that would then trigger, then the board, they're out of alignment with the agreement. So then the board has the authority to levy, if they choose to do so, some type of recapture or early termination of the pilot benefits.
Sean, I believe we reached out to 3 companies this year.
Yes.
We went at 3 companies this year regarding their job numbers. 2 came into compliance, 1 is on our agenda today who did not come into compliance, and we're looking to do a recapture. So I mean, this is like the focus of the board. We ask about job numbers, and especially this time of year, because our Paris reports are due in March. And that's when it shows whether they're following the program or they've deviated, and deviated by not having their job numbers. We have no problem going for recapture.
But deviating, is that part of that, or lack of communication also?
No,
Huh?
I think we communicate with these folks better than we ever have.
Not on your part.
No, we,
No.
the
On their
board,
part.
But these two people here, Sean and not to cut you off, and Mary
Yeah.
are instrumental.
they
Right.
legally have to report to us.
They have to, or again, that would trigger out of compliance.
Because I used to be on the local living wage commission. And the same follow-ups were like that. If they didn't follow those living wage commission number, we'd have to answer those. But some of them stopped communicating. Like, let's see, I'm just telling you, that's the way it works.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, we did have someone,
Right.
So-
I'm not gonna name the
That's
business.
okay.
We had somebody stop communicating with us,
Oh, yeah.
and then when we pulled the plug, well, he showed up real darn quick.
I'm not,
Yes, he did.
this board.
Yeah.
their Communication's wide open.
yeah,
I'm just saying, there's, and this was just an example, but I remember when I was in the living wage commission, it was tough, we had to go to their door. I used to drop in their barbecues, hey, look, you're not talking to us, you know, you're gonna honor these wage agreements. You know, this employment number, I mean, it was very similar to what you do with your recapture of your father.
mhm,
You know, like,
yeah.
that-
I mean, we were talking to,
Extenuating circumstances, great word, but what are they?
yeah.
I have to explain it to you. right?
Well, and then communicating, I think industrial development agencies broadly have become to be more scrutinizing of these incentives because, because we are in turn scrutinized.
Right.
So we, I had mentioned to some of the audit that we're subjected to, and, we want to maintain this tool to drive development. So, this board thankfully is very active. But industrial development agencies, I think broadly have enforced the policies and procedures more so than they have in the past. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't, one of the criteria for getting the IDA is a job, retention, job creation. And if you're gonna inflate those numbers to make it look good when it comes before the IDA board, so you get the IDA pilot and exemptions and the breaks, and then you can't meet those numbers. We don't want that.
Right.
We wanna, we want realistic numbers and we want you to meet those goals. Or we're gonna recapture.
Okay, no, thank you, no, you've all answered the questions. I was just curious on my mind, how you process.
Yeah,
You
so-
work with them.
On the pilots, now, do you recommend to the town board on those pilots? I'm just trying to learn the whole thing, because I know it has nothing to do with you, but like the apartments that they just wanted to put in before I took office. It was like a 15-year, no taxes, but they had a pilot program. Is there any way to include the schools on that? Because, you have your town tax and your property.
Yeah.
Your school tax.
They're
It's
right
still-
there.
It's still the same pair of pants.
They're both represented. That's Frontier, that's.
Well, and that pilot, just to, because I saw our IDA attorney kind of like her eyebrows raised. That is and I don't know if you can speak to it from your assessment. That is not an IDA pilot. That's a low income housing.
Right.
Right, that's
Island.
different. There's
I'm
different,
just saying,
yes.
pilots in general.
Well, I
I
mean,
just watched it from sitting here.
Right.
When the previous board was in there.
Yeah,
And they agreed to the pilot program, and I was like, you got school tax, town tax, same pair of pants. So, okay, you're gonna lower my taxes here, but you're gonna raise my taxes there.
typically, it's, the developer seeks out the incentives because if it's not for the incentives, the development can't happen. So, I don't know what the policy is for a school district to opt in or opt out of a tax discount for low income housing. But the developer, would typically have that conversation to say, look, Davis as a representative of Frontier, we want to, do this workforce housing project, but we can't model it.
But industrial businesses still pay school tax.
Industrial developments pay, if they are approved for a pilot, they will get a discount on the school tax.
right.
So,
They don't receive, under the pilot program, they don't receive any benefit on a special district charge, like your fire districts or your sewer districts. They're paying
highway
full,
tax.
they're getting taxed or on the full amount. Now, you could build a new industrial building over here and walk into the assessor's office and say, I'm gonna get a 485B exemption, which is a 10-year exemption. It starts at half of the, new construction, the assessment on the new construction, and then tapers off 5% a year. And a lot of our IDA pilots are structured very similar to 485B. But a 45B doesn't come with any job creation or retention in it. It's just a straight exemption that's been offered by the state for a number of years.
Thanks.
But is it, I think it's in Hamburg, you say about the housing and developers for the affordable housing. I think they have to have a 10% with the affordable housing here in Hamburg.
I think that's
That's blanket. So the market rate, any market rate project would have to have, based on that fair housing law. You're correct.
We're the
there.
only town I'm aware of
Right.
in Western New York that has that. Clarence doesn't have it, Lancaster doesn't have it, Chippewa.
Yeah, best of my knowledge.
I think just can't have that 10% for developers. That's why Amherst and those other areas they can do what they want. Because there's no.
Yeah, there are different state laws out there for these low-income housing developments. And I'm not familiar with all of them. There was one where you had to keep so many units at a below market rate.
Right.
And then the property was actually valued based on the income and not a market rate income, but the income it was producing. So that was just one of the probably many that are out there.
Well, right, when
I see it myself.
$40,000 about it, but the developer gets something back.
Right.
From doing it.
Right.
Like I said, 10% here in Hamburg, he gets something back someplace. So I don't know where he gets it.
I didn't want to get sidetracked.
No, that's okay. No, I appreciate the questions. So continuing on annual meeting or committee assignments, a motion to elect the executive committee members, Robert Hutchison as chair, Janet McGregor-Plar as vice chair, Cameron Hall as secretary, Robert Reynolds as treasurer for a term ending February 13th, 2025.
So move.
Thank you, Andy.
Second.
Thank you, Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Yeah. Ooh.
Motion to elect the audit committee members, Bob Hutchison, Davis Pekulski, Bob Reynolds, to the committee for a term ending February 13th, 2025.
So move.
Thank you, Cam.
Second.
Thank you, Janet. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion to elect governance committee members, Jamel Perkins, Bob Hutchison, Davis Pekulski, to the committee for a term ending February 13th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you, Bob Reynolds. Thank you, Janet. All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Carried. Motion to elect the finance committee members, Bob Hutchison, Bob Reynolds, Janet McGregor-Plar, to the committee for a term ending February 13th, 2025.
So move.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Bob Hutchison. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you for serving on those committees. I know it's an extra lift, but
Pays good.
this is how we do it. This is how we maintain.
I love the pay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a name change resolution for Mission Hills. Resolution of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency, also known as the agency, substituting a related name entity for Mission Hills Developer LLC, the lessee. Whereas the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency, by resolution adopted on August 17th, 2022, approved assistance for the project. Whereas the lessee has asked to substitute a related entity, Villages at Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC, as the lessee to receive the same benefits as approved. Now therefore, the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency hereby resolves as follows. The agency hereby consents to the assignment of the approved benefits from Mission Hills Developer LLC to Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC. The agency hereby consents that Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC is now the lessee.
So move.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Bob. Reynolds,
Yes, that's me.
any questions? Yes, Jamie.
Making sure, ask this in the next resolution as well, as the same benefits as approved, that they will be following requirements set by the Town of Hamburg Fair Housing Law, where they have to offer 10% of their units to low-income people at a reduced rate.
That was memorialized in their initial. Do you want to?
I just want to make sure it's memorialized in both of these.
Okay.
Because,
Do you want an amended resolution?
yeah.
Okay.
You want to do the second one? Or
I don't know, Jennifer, should we do it both?
You can do it in both,
okay,
Okay.
so it's doubly two.
I'll second that amendment.
Make sure that's,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second Janet's amendment.
So I will, do I rescind this resolution?
No, just add,
I'm going to
Okay.
make a motion to amend the resolution.
Okay. Amend the resolution that, I will add a section,
Include the,
section 4 if you want, or whatever, section 3,
Or section one.
section 1.
That's the assignment.
just find the name of that program.
developer will follow the conditions outlined in the town.
Housing. The,
It's the town of Hamburg Fair Housing Law. Would you be okay with the developer will follow the conditions outlined in the town of Hamburg Fair Housing Law?
here we go. It's called the annual marketing plan requirement. And the Hamburg Fair Housing.
Okay. And annual
Marketing plan requirement. And the Hamburg Fair Housing.
okay,
So if you don't know, any new development, any new apartment development has to offer. Anyone renting 20 or more units has to offer 10% of those units to low income.
okay. Motion,
I second that motion.
thank you, Janet. Thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. So I'm going to amend this resolution. The second resolution is Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC. This is a second extension request. And I'm gonna put the same amendment in there. Flip back to the, okay. Resolution of the Town of Hamburg and Development Agency extending the inducement period and sales tax period for Mission Hills Developer LLC and Mission Hills Phase 4 LLC. Whereas the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency by resolution adopted on August 17th, 2022 approved assistance for the project. Whereas there has been a delay in finishing the project and in obtaining financing, and now therefore be it resolved by the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency hereby resolves as follows. The agency extend the inducement period and sales tax period a second extension for the lessee from February 17th, 2024 to August 17th, 2024 upon payment by the lessee of the extension fee of half fee per the agency fee schedule due to a 6-month extension, and developer will follow the conditions outlined in the Town of Hamburg Fair Housing Law and Marketing Plan requirements. So moved.
Second.
Andy, thank you. Bob Reynolds. Question?
Just the half fee per agency fee, that's our normal.
It's, you know what, because it's a 6-month extension. They came
right.
over an initial 6-month
Right.
extension. The project has progressed. They
Okay.
did receive a bank commitment letter, but they're not ready to close,
Okay.
by the 17th.
I just want to keep it on record that we did a half
Okay.
fee, because we probably be revisiting this possibly in 6 months again.
Did we waive the extension fee the first?
No.
No.
On this project.
Yeah, and this one, no.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on,
Clarification. Cause I'm slow on the uptake this morning. We voted on the amendment. We didn't vote on the resolution as amended.
for the second
First
one?
Or second one?
The first one. You amended it right away in this, so we had
Okay.
to vote on the amendment. and
Yeah,
then we
you're
had to
right.
vote on the resolution as amended.
Okay,
State culture.
okay. Do you want to go
I'll
re-vote on
make
it?
a motion to vote on that first resolution as amended.
Okay,
Second.
Mission Hills name change resolution. Janet
Very good.
moved it. Bob Reynolds seconded it.
Yes.
All in favor?
Robert's rules going, yeah,
Opposed?
good for you.
Exactly.
Opposed? Carried.
That's what we do for a
Sorry.
living.
That's okay. Okay. On to unfinished business, Paris Employment Reporting and K Technologies, Inc. recapture resolution. So this is a resolution of the Town of Hamburg Development Agency terminating the lease and associated benefits with K Technologies, Inc. Whereas K Technologies, Inc., the lessee has entered into an agreement with officials of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency, known as the agency, with respect to the construction, installation, and equipping of approximately 53,860 square foot office building located at 4199 Bayview Road, Hamburg, New York, acquisition and installation of machinery required in connection therewith, all for the manufacturing facility, for sale or lease to the agency and subsequent lease or sublease to the lessee, or in the alternative, enter into an installment sale transaction with the lessee, the project. And whereas the lessee has failed to hire, train, and maintain employees at the agreed upon levels, and whereas the agency has provided due notice and curation period for the employment shortfall. Now therefore, the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency hereby resolves as follows. In accordance with the agency policy for recapture or termination and or modification of financial assistance readopted June 21st, 2023, the project has been deemed non-compliant. Following a meeting of the Executive Committee on February 27, 2024, the committee recommends to the agency to terminate the remaining benefits due to non-compliance. So moved.
So moved.
Second.
On to question?
Yeah.
Yes, Andy.
So what did they promise and what do they have?
Let me call that up. Apologize for not having it in the handy. So
59 and they 47.
I believe it was less than that. So this company, I mean, we've worked, like we were talking to earlier, we've been working closely with a number of deficient companies, of which have been able to move up. This company, since COVID, has experienced supply chain delays and just unfortunately, you know, their shortfall, I believe, was greater than 10 jobs. I'm calling
So
it.
it's not a close number, like we're not talking 3 or 4.
No,
Okay.
no. So it's, you know, we've worked with the company. I would say it's no fault of the developer. It's largely economic conditions. This is an unfortunate circumstance. You know, the board has a decision. They have to be accountable to the taxpayers. I think this is, you know, working through the executive committee. It's not something we
No, of
came
course
about.
not. Just
So I think
explain
this
me
is a fair connection here. Let me call up the number.
While you're looking at, I just want to point out too, this resolution, if it's approved, it shall take effect immediately. According to what we talked about, they already paid one of their taxes, but they haven't paid their school tax. So the school tax would go back to full in September when their school tax is due. They'll be back to October.
It's
whatever.
about a total of $34,000.
Yeah.
To the tax roll.
There we go. Andy.
Because you're
I'm getting
removing it
there.
at this point, taking the
Yeah.
exemption off, so for March 1st, it'll be easy, it'll be back on as a full.
Right.
And then they'll have to sign a lease termination.
Had they been communicating with us?
Yeah, I've been working with the developer. We've met, you know, and it's just, you know, they're not going to be able to get to it. We've tried to work to focus, pivot on other manufacturing opportunities, but they're just not. They're at 39 and their commitment number is 56. And really, this company has been performing well. You know, it's a result, you know, they've really experienced a downturn as soon as the pandemic ensued.
Are they
But
hiring anything
they're-
at all? Or
they're-
are
they're
they
far out.
trying to hire?
not to the extent that would.
But do they have any?
Yeah,
to hire?
I don't know like what their exact number of available opportunities are, but they're, you know, it would be like 1-2 type
Yeah.
of jobs.
Well,
So,
I guess my point would be if they're trying to hire 1-2 and they can't hire 1-2, they're definitely not gonna be able to meet the requirements that was pre-COVID, right?
yeah.
So, okay, and then, how long was left on the pilot?
It's essentially 2 years school tax, 1 year town and county.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Staying.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andy.
It's our,
Okay, reminder for your sexual harassment training. Call for executive session. Motion to adjourn the February 14th, 2024 Hamburg IDA meeting at 8:25 a.m.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next meeting, March 13th, 2024. Next, our Land Development Corporation.